An Arbitration-Mediation Conflict Resolution Guide. Chapter 1. Alternative Dispute Resolution. Conflict resolution at home and in business. Spouses and families fight and people in business fight. Here are some websites to help you resolve conflicts. The key is to give a little bit and compromise. Try not to start off with a negative attitude. Don't go in half-cocked looking for a fight or to unload on someone. You can't beat around the bush. People can't read minds. You have to approach the other person and state directly that we have an issue we should try to resolve together. Try to be cooperative. Identify/define exactly what the problem is without criticizing a person. Try to resolve it being curious and friendly rather than oppositional. Just say we've got an issue we should try to solve. Don't bring the police or a lawyer into it unless personal, face-to-face measures fail. Mediation and arbitration at work and. If you're in an employee-employer employment dispute for breach of contract, unjust termination, or any other matter, rather than go through the courts, you can go through mediation or arbitration. In mediation, the mediator is a neutral third party. In collaborative law, it's just the two sides talking it out with no third party present. Mediation and collaborative law are generally agreed to by both sides together. In arbitration, the arbitrator makes the final decision just like a judge does. The mediator could be a lawyer or a professional in the social work/counseling field. It is much cheaper than using lawyers and lawyers don't particularly like it. Alternative dispute resolution/ADR. Instead of going to court on a civil matter like a divorce, a business disagreement, a consumer problem, a landlord-tenant issues, etc., you might be able to resolve a civil problem or dispute by simply talking to the complainant, or you may both agree to a formal proceeding commonly called an alternative dispute resolution/ADR. These kinds of legal processes can be used in almost all kinds of civil cases including employment, business dispute, family, divorce, neighbors, landlord-tenant, consumer, personal injury, home improvement services and contracts. There are several different types of ADRs. The spirit of all of them is that the two sides sit together with a neutral third party who will either act as the referee or the judge, depending on the type of ADR the players choose. In order for there to be an ADR as opposed to a court case, both sides have to be open and friendly enough to agree to this arrangement and agree to abide by the results. They are still adversarial but willing to give a little bit more than in a court case. Depending on the laws in your area geographically and in the subject area of your dispute, there could be provisions in the law that allow you to choose ADR instead of a regular court case, or you could operate independently of the court system if you want. Before you file a lawsuit, ask the other side if they would be willing to go through an ADR process rather than go to court over it. The biggest advantages of ADR over litigation are: speed of resolution, cheaper costs, no lawyers getting high fees for an extended period of time. With ADR, if it breaks down or you don't like the way it's going, you can always revert back to the court trial process if you want. The general procedure is as follows. Both sides agree to an ADR process. The two sides write an agreement where they agree on the time, the duration of the process and who, if anyone, will make the final decision. Sometimes, but not all, each side will write up their version of events to give to the arbitrator/mediator. There will have to be an agreement to how the arbitrator will be paid and possibly a constraint on time. Both sides could agree that the process will go on regardless of time constraints or agree to X number of hours for the process, then that will be it. Either they or the arbitrator will have to make a decision after that. On the day of the meeting, each side will come in, the moderator will explain the case briefly by defining the exact issue at hand, then give each side a chance to make their presentation. After this, they will discuss, argue, and negotiate until either they reach a mutual decision, or if they can't, the moderator will say he has heard enough and goes off to deliberate about his decision. This could take several days. The moderator's skill is in being neutral while being civil and friendly to both sides. His job is to help each see the other side, to prevent them from fighting and keeping a level head so that both sides stay to work through it. He can inject his ideas about how the two parties should resolve the issue at hand. The moderator has the option to talk to each side in private if he wants in order to help him resolve the issue at hand. If one of the sides doesn't like the way the proceeding is going, they can cut it off before the final decision and revert back to the court litigation process. In big cases, several people sit on a board of arbitrators or mediators and hear a case as a team. Think of the moderator as a judge, referee, teacher, and ideas person. Think of ADR as good faith bargaining. Summary. Both mediation and arbitration are private, unlike public courtroom trials. There are alternative dispute resolution centers all across the country. Check the yellow pages of the phone book under the following categories: Alternative dispute resolution, arbitration, mediation service. Also, refer to your local Better Business Bureau, which does a lot of arbitration and mediation work in consumer affairs between customers and business owners. They also help a lot of unhappy car owners get satisfaction from the dealers. In the final analysis, if you think it's a viable option in your case, consider mediation/arbitration in lieu of a court trial. There are books about ADR at number 347.710-740 and KE8615 or KF9084 at the library. Negotiation info. The simplest type of ADR is a negotiation process. Both sides try to work it out. They try to hammer out a deal together by talking it out, while a third party tries to help them with general advice. You have to give a little bit and compromise. Each side states its terms, then you discuss them anywhere from a few minutes to several days and end up with an agreement. Mediation info. Mediation is a good faith process with both sides presumably entering into it to come to a fair settlement. If one side is in stronger or bullying position, mediation is no good. If one side wants punitive damages, the issue has to be resolved in a court of law. The mediator must be someone who does not have an emotional or financial stake in the outcome. Mediators should be professionals who don't know the players involved. The mediator's job is to sit with the players and try to keep them calm and cordial while you all work on solving the problem you're working on. A mediator schedules a meeting at a time and place convenient to everyone. He wants them all to feel they can speak openly and makes it clear that his job is to get to the bottom of the problem. The mediator gives the players turns explaining their position, issues, or feelings. Make a rule that they are not to be interrupted while speaking. Have someone take notes. Encourage questions by the other side after one side has spoken. Periodically, with a complicated point, have the note-taker read back what someone said such that the person can either confirm or clarify it. Invite everyone to offer their own solutions. Discuss these possible solutions. Try to come to a solution that everyone can accept. It will usually be a compromise, each side giving a little bit. The ideal is to let the people experiencing the conflict decide on a solution among themselves without input from the mediator. If they can't, then the mediator has to make that decision for them. Tell them that you would rather that they come to an agreement amongst themselves rather than you making it for them. Once you reach a solution, tell them you'll put it into practice for a week or two, then call another meeting to discuss it and make adjustments if necessary. The mediator is more a moderator than a judge. He's controlling the flow of discussion between the two parties. His job is to keep them talking until they come to a decision together. If the talks break down, they can choose to go back to court to settle the problem. The proceedings are informal, and although you can bring a lawyer, it doesn't seem appropriate because of the good faith nature of the process. Arbitration info. Arbitration is a process wherein if you have a beef against anyone, regardless of whether it's business, a landlord-tenant dispute or any civil matter, you can take it to arbitration rather than to a court where an arbiter, who is less stringent than a judge, will hear your case and the decision he or she makes will be legally binding. The advantages of arbitration are generally less formality than a court trial, less expensive and less time-consuming. The difference between arbitration and mediation is that in arbitration, the arbiter generally makes the final judgment, whereas in mediation, the mediator tries to get the parties involved to reach some kind of agreement amongst themselves. The tendency of alternative dispute resolutions is that the arbitrator will typically try to satisfy both parties and split the case down the middle rather than a court case, which usually ends up with a winner and a loser. Both sides agree that the arbitrator, a neutral third party, will make the final decision that will be legally binding. This process is more formal than mediation, and both sides can bring evidence and witnesses in and also use lawyers in the process. This sounds a lot like regular trial, but it differs in that the arbitrator is much more flexible about not having to follow the procedure of law and can use evidence not normally accepted in a court of law, like hearsay. After the hearing, the arbitrator deliberates and delivers a written decision within 30 days, and that's it. There's no magic verdict moment, it's a piece of paper. The decision of a binding arbitration is final and you can't appeal it. Also, you can't use a jury as in a regular trial. Chapter 2. Confliction Resolution Resources. Confliction Resolution Websites. acrnet.org, acresolution.org, the Association for Conflict Resolution. accri.org, Correspondence Course on Conflict Resolution. acresolution.org, Association for Conflict Resolution. campus-adr.org, Campus Conflict Resolution Resources. ccrcmediation.com, Chesapeake Conflict Resolution Center. conflictresearch.org. conflictresolution.com. conflict-resolution.org, Center for Conflict Resolution at Salisbury University. conflictresolution.org. conflictresolution.pdx.edu, the Conflict Resolution Graduate Program. conflictresolutionblog.com. conflictresolutionusa.com/conflict_resolution.hdm. Association for Conflict Resolution. 1015 18th Street Northwest Suite 1150. Washington, D.C. 20036. 202-464-9700. acrnet.org. Conflict Resolution Organizations. Academy of Family Mediators. 4 Militia Drive, Lexington, Massachusetts 02173. 617-674-2663. Fax, 617-674-2690. 800-292-4236. Mediators.org. Makes referrals to divorce mediators. American Arbitration Association. 335 Madison Avenue, NYC 10017 to 4605. 212-716-5870. Fax, 212-716-5905. 800-778-7879. Fax, 877-INFO AAA. ADR.org. National headquarters of this non-profit organization with 37 regional offices. Divorce mediators available. Association for Conflict Resolution. 1015 18th STNW. Number 1150. Washington, D.C. 20036. 202-464-9700. acrnet.org. Association of Conflict Resolution. 1527 New Hampshire Avenue, NW. Washington, D.C. 20036. 202-667-9700. Mediate.com. Association of Family and Conciliation Courts. 6515 Grand Teton Plaza, number 1210. Madison, Wisconsin 53719. 608-664-3750. afccnet.org. Constructive Resolution of Family Disputes. Center for Dispute Settlement. 1666 Connecticut Avenue, NW. Number 501. Washington, D.C. 20009. 202-265-9572. Society of Professionals Dispute Resolution. 815, 15th St. Northwest. Number 530. Washington, D.C. 20005. 202-783-7277. Mediation websites. Better Business Bureau, bbb.org. MediationNow.com. acjnet.org, Access to Justice Network. afccnet.org, Association of Family and Conciliatory Courts. AlternativeLaw.com, Alternative Law Mediation. Mediation.com. MediationWorks.com, Mediation Training Institute. MediatorIndex.com.